Hi there, welcome to the Ching Cafe. My name is Belinda Doveston and we're into the week ahead overview for the week commencing the 7th of October. If you've not yet done so, go and have a look at the overview for October because it'll give you a great overview and context for the weekly sessions. So let's get into the week. Right, well, we start the week with Hexagram 24 called Return or the Return. And you'll see from the hexagram structure, you've got a whole lot of female yin lines. At the bottom, you've got this little male yang line coming in through the bottom of the hexagram. And this represents the turn from winter into spring, the arrival of the change, the turning point, and a new cycle beginning as we emerge out of the darkness. This is like the bear in the cave after the winter of hibernation, slowly starting to move muscles and awaken and stir in the cave and get ready to begin the new season and emerge out of the cave. So if you felt like you've been through a symbolic winter where things have been very dormant, there hasn't been much happening, this week we're going to start to see the pattern of the emergence of the bear, the arrival of spring, and the turning of the tide. It's a great hexagram to tell the story of not just the turning point from a challenge into an opportunity, but also the return back to something. So you might this week experience that evidence of the turning point, of the bear stirring, or you could also experience this process of going back to something you did before, returning back to the starting point, going back to something that worked in your business, going back to perhaps even a relationship. It's the return back to something and starting at the beginning again. So this might literally be going back to something of your past, returning back to a city you used to live in, or perhaps the area you grew up in. This is a return back to where you began. And so keep your eyes open and focus, because that's what we're being asked to pay attention to, on giving energy to this turning point. Now we have one changing line for this week, and it's in the first position. So we have this turning point, but we also have the changing line in what is entering, what is new. And this changing line says we're just inside the edge of the cave. Perhaps our hibernation hasn't been a complete and utter withdrawal. Perhaps we have withdrawn a little bit, just taken a step back and been in a place of isolation. Perhaps the isolation or retreat has been self-chosen, or perhaps it's chosen for you. But there's a sense here in this week that what is going to happen is you're going to get back on the path. After having been a little bit withdrawn, a little bit isolated, feeling a little bit out of the flow, coming back into the path, returning back into the way, and the energy returning after this winter experience. So this week we are the bear. We are emerging out the cave. We are getting information this week that the turning point has come and that we're pivoting. And we're in that kind of moment between these two realities of winter and spring, and we're in that pivot, almost at the equinox, timing-wise too. So let's have a look at what the second energy is for this week. The hexagrams, even though I talk about the main or the present and the outcome hexagram, are two overlapping, intertwining ideas, right? So as much as we have this turning point, we also have throughout the week the focus of the outcome hexagram that is grabbing our attention and is asking us to develop through the healing power of that hexagram. And our second hexagram is number 2, the receptive. This is the second of a pair of primal creation energies, heaven being 1 and receptive being 2. Heaven is the male, the dragon, the father, and 2 is receptive, earth, mother. So this week we are being called to be Mother Earth. And think about how Earth nurtures the seeds. It doesn't have an agenda for the seed. It says, oh, you need magnesium. I've got that. Oh, you need water. I've got that. You need calcium. I can help you with that. And nurtures each seed as it goes through its evolution process when it's ready to germinate and begin its growth process. And so this week, whether it's in our families, our personal life, or our businesses, we're being asked to be Mother Earth. This is not forcing an agenda. This is not pushing. This is just laying like broccoli and allowing growth processes to happen through us and supporting the growth that's happening around us, one thing at a time, one seed at a time, and just creating the space. Our job is to create the space this week, not to force, not to create and drive an agenda. We create by holding the space. And so if you are used to, I have a problem, I fix the problem. I see something has to be done, I challenge the issue. If this is your internal energy, this week might be a bit challenging because it's asking you to do something that is not naturally in your flow. But that's what we're being asked to do. We're being asked to be the Mother Earth, to hold the space, create the space, and just be there and nurture everything as it comes to us. Not having too much of a very hardcore plan. Okay, so this is the week that we are being asked to pay attention to. Every time we get a hexagram, the hexagram represents a symbol, a metaphor of the development journey we're being asked to pay attention to. It's not the only symbol or metaphor of our lives or the only thing that is important. It's our collective focus. What is the thing that if we focus on this symbol, that we can accelerate our path and accelerate our purpose as quickly as possible throughout this week? So we've been given some very clear things. Number one, acknowledge and recognize that a turning point has been reached. If you've been isolated or you felt slightly withdrawn, voluntarily or otherwise, come back into the path, move forward. This is a time to start moving, but not to run. The bear doesn't go from hibernating to bolting in 1 second. It slowly gets up and gets those limbs moving and starts the blood flow and slowly emerges out the cave and checks out what's going on. And that's what we need to do, as well as being this receptive, beautiful earth that nurtures growth and potential around us and just creates a space. That's all we have to do, is nurture the space and deal with each thing as it comes at us in turn. Really a wonderful and interesting week as we nurture and we become like earth. Let's see how difficult we find this process of being receptive and open and yielding rather than trying to force our will and our way upon those around us. And keep your eyes open for later this week. I'll be sharing a video on our I Ching 101 series on what is a trigram as we slowly unpack some of this amazing complexity that is the I Ching. It really helps us to understand change and our relationship to our own path of growth. See you on Facebook and on Instagram for our daily stories. Thanks so much for being here in this community.